Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the yet another episode of the Book Talkies podcast. I have my batchmate and friend Manu Joseph today as a guest speaker. Manu, welcome to the Book Talkies podcast.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Kaustav and Anirudh. Happy to be here.
Manu and Anirudh, you might not know this. Manu and I, we are MBA batchmates. We studied MBA from 2011 to 2013. You are termed to be 40 under 40 data scientists to look out for in India. You have used your creative brilliance to write your own freaking thriller book called The Artist. I'm very keen to understand how your last 10 years were.
So I did my engineering in industrial engineering, and then I worked in an IT organization for 1.5 years. Then I took an MBA, and then I was working as a supply chain consultant for the next 3 years. So
Okay.
after this, probably I started slowly moving towards data science. And
Mm-hmm.
I think when I picked up data science and probably started working on it, I think that's where it clicked. This is something that I'm good at and what I enjoy. And that is kind of like the combination that kind of made it work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when you find something that you're passionate about, and if you persevere on that path, you will definitely achieve great things. And that's my personal belief.
Do tell us, how does it feel when you get an award for 40 under 40 data
Mm.
scientist, and that too, the chess grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand gives you that award. How does it feel?
It felt awesome.
Yeah.
First of all, because like being recognized for my work and other contributions to the community, that feels really nice because it's a large part of my usual contributions is to the open source community and to the community of data scientists who are trying to kind of get through this evolving monster of a field. So I kind of have an open source library where I kind of contribute, and then I open it. I mean, it's a free library anyways, it's open source. I also have a book which I kind of wrote everything which I have learned and studied in and put into practice from the kind of time series world into a book. So all of these contributions, when people kind of come back to you and tell you that, okay, this has been awesome and this is really helpful for me, like that was a really, really fulfilling experience. Like when you hear something from them.
I think a lot of people start in a very similar space. They do engineering in a field which has nothing to do with where they end up in the tech space. And then they
Mm.
leave the tech space to do an MBA to be able to enhance their career prospects and then end up somewhere else. But in the last decade or so, with where technology is, I think you were probably in one of the most critical and sought after spaces. Data science is one of the key things. So I think in itself, that is a very inspiring journey. And off the record, you also mentioned that you had put together a book, which now you mentioned has really helped the entire data science community. And then you've been recognized for that. So I think that in itself was a journey to talk about. And to top it all up, icing on the cake is the fact that you've been able to put together a thriller series.
Can I
Thanks. Thank
can
you
I
very much.
ask you this question, Manu? Have you read this book called as Ikigai? Ikigai by Hector Garcia,
Mm.
or do you know about
No,
this book?
no. I know about the book. I haven't read it. Typically not
This
into
is
nonfiction. But yeah, go on.
this is fantastic, right? Anirudh, don't you think so? I think Manu has kind of found his ikigai. The concept is, so both Anirudh and I will love this book. It is based on Hector Garcia, the author. He stays in Japan and he visits one of the blue zone places in the world. They're blue zones meaning where there are centenarians, people who
Mm.
are, I
100
think,
and above.
very healthy. Yeah, 100 and
Mm.
above. Exactly. So this is the city where in Okinawa, I think, is where most of the centenarians are staying. And he
Mhm.
researches on them and that why are they so happy. The concept is probably it's a 4 by 4 circle, and the intersection is what is where the ikigai lies. It's something that you love to do, something that the world needs, something that you are good at, and something that gives you money. The intersection of all of this is what ikigai is. And I
Okay.
think even though if you don't know the concept, somehow in this journey you have found your ikigai.
Yes.
Do you think
Yes.
so?
Yeah, that makes sense. At least from the data science part.
Yes.
Like the making money box won't be there on the on the other side.
Your first thriller is called The Artist. Can you tell us what is that book all about?
So the artist is a psychological thriller. So it's about a man, a family man with a complicated past and a past which he likes to get away from, and how um, his idyllic world kind of gets like collides with a chaotic world of a serial killer. The serial killer is the artist, right? The name of the serial killer is the artist, and when this collides and how this man tries to redeem himself or tries to kind of keep his family safe. It's a fun and like very fast-paced read with a lot of like we explore a lot of concepts within the book, things about the human psyche, things about right and wrong, the how morality is very gray. So there's a lot of interesting sub themes inside this fast-paced action thriller. So yeah, without giving it all away, I think that's probably the uh, good summary.
The fact that you'd written a book on data science. So, what really inspired you to get into the space of fiction? And did watching some movies really inspire you to think of this plot? Or was it, and where I'm coming from is essentially for someone who's thinking of writing their own book.
Hmm.
What was the thought process that you had that
Hmm.
actually helped you land onto this story? And did you have all of this figured out while you started to write this, or was it like a journey in itself to write
Awesome.
the first chapter and then think of some more characters and then build it onto something else and then something else?
Fun fact, I actually wrote and completed this book before the data science book. It just published now.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. And about about the inspiration, I would say it really like I actually remember the point where the seed of the idea kind of got into my mind. I was watching some Korean thriller or something, some movie with my wife. And as usual, like sometimes when I'm in the mood, right, I like to guess what will happen in the movie. Like, okay, this will happen when this might happen. Uh, and turns out one of those guesses was wrong. And I was like, if this is not a movie, it should be something, right? So then
yeah.
that kind of seed got into me and then kind of got developed. I kind of thought about it, developed the story, and then I got a skeleton. Like, this is like a good thing to probably write. Um, and then, like, now I'm at a point where, like, I have an idea, right? But I'm not really sure whether I can write it because I'm not a person who has been writing short stories, who's been writing a lot all these years, and now I'm starting a novel. You know, uh, I've been reading a lot. Like I've read a lot of books in my life, so that probably some part of my confidence came from that. Like, okay, I have at least this knowledge, right? I've read a lot of books. I know how books work, right? That kind of a knowledge. Um, but then I realized that writing a book is a whole other game. So I actually spend time in reading about the craft, learning the craft, like the different. There are different books by many authors, including Stephen King, who kind of break down the craft. Right, these guys have written so many books that they have it mapped out. So they break down the craft. They tell you how to write good, how to make good writing, whole like show versus tell, the whole thing. They kind of write very well, and I think I spent a lot of time reading that and learning, like literally learning how to write. And after that, I got some confidence that okay, I can start to write something. And at right about that point of time, I think I started interacting with some online communities and forums and things where other folks who have been writing are already there. One of the main reasons why I started to do it was to get immediate feedback, right? Like you can write
Mhm.
something and then you can kind of post it over there and then get feedback from them. So you get to learn a lot from that process as well. So by doing all of this, I hope I've kind of improved my writing quality. And now I'm at a position where, okay, fine, I'm confident. Okay, I can start to write. But also one more factor is without naming other people, like I've read a few books which has been published, and I thought to myself, well, I can write better than this. Yeah, I
Love
mean,
it. Yeah.
not all the books who are published are top quality. But then when I started writing, I understood like there is uh, I'm not a person who can just write and let the story flow. Like if you think like George R. R. Martin, he has a blog post where he explains there are two types of writers. One is called the architect, the other is called the gardener. Right? He calls himself a gardener. So basically, what he does is he doesn't have the entire thing planned out. He just gets into the character's shoes and then start writing and see where it goes, right? And then when it goes into some place where it doesn't make sense, he kind of trashes the last few pages, go back to a point, and then start in a different way. That's the way he writes. And then there are other people who kind of plan the entire thing out, including like chapters, beats, everything, and then start writing. Right. So I'm more inclined towards the architect kind of a thing. But I would say I would fall somewhere between the two, but leaning towards the architect because before writing the whole thing, I had the plan, like the entire story arc of all the characters. I knew which chapters would be talking about what, which point of view is each chapter going to talk about. All that planning I've done. Like at that time, you should have seen my wall was full of post-its and like spaghetti strings and all kinds of. It's like how you would expect a serial killer to be. A room,
Yeah.
yeah, like that.
Exactly.
It was all of this. There were many awkward visits by friends and family who would say like, "What the hell is this?" But
I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, but then I kind of planned everything out, and then while I'm writing, I did give myself room to like tweak the whole thing a bit, right? Like while I'm writing, I find something a little more interesting. I'm free to go into that area and kind of make changes in the next coming thing. So I think at least for me, that kind of lets me plan out and like plant different things in a very structured manner so that when the reader reads it, he gets it in the way that I want him to get it in a very gradual manner. Yeah, so that's the process I had. After that, it's basically just about perseverance. It's just about writing, trying to write every day, even if it's a page. You just keep writing every day. So, and some days you write a lot, some days you write very less. And also, I'm a person who is completely reliant on music. So whenever I write, I put music, uh, and sometimes I even go to the extent that I put music which resonates with the mood of the book or the chapters that I'm writing. Kind of gets me into the groove to write better. Because I found that when there are some songs which are like really good and has lyrics, my attention goes to there. And I was like,
Uh,
yeah, that's a good song, but that'll break my flow. So I thought I'll decide to kind of keep it something which is without like just instrumentals. And within instrumentals, you have different, like sometimes epic themes and sometimes other different on instrumental themes is what I used to do.
for someone who doesn't read non-fiction books, you are already inculcating quite a few productivity habits that people watch out for or read in these books. For example, perseverance or writing every day. James Clear's Atomic Habits, Anirudh. In that book, in that Atomic Habits, James Clear, he mentions that for if you have to stick to a habit, come what may, you have to do it every day.
Hmm.
So it's a tick mark that okay, you did something for that day, and you are a person who exercises. Same with you probably. Even though if you write two words, I am,
Hmm.
you wrote, you contributed something to your book, and perseverance is what keeps you going. Keeps your keeps building your habit, and in your case keeps adding those important words to your book. So
Yes.
yeah, you are a sorted individual, my friend. Can we see your book?
So this is the book.
Manu, thanks for sharing that book. In very fascinating cover, and brilliant job of choosing the Rorschach view of as your cover. My
I
first question.
I wouldn't take all the credit. I had a designer who was working with me. The She came up with the idea about using Rorschach test, and that I liked it a lot, and everybody liked it. So then that's her work actually.
Lovely, lovely. Kudos to her. Why do you think there is so much fascination about serial killers? I am fascinated by their lives. I know all about Ted Bundy. I know all about Ed Kemper. I know all about Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if you know this book called as Mind Hunters. Mind Hunters by
Yes,
by John
yes,
Douglas. He's the one who created that.
yes, yes,
He established that behavioral science unit, and I think his team
yes,
coined the term serial killers. Okay, uh,
yes.
they have their 2 seasons on Netflix,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the book is
Brilliant.
brilliant. You have read that?
Yeah, it is one of the different books that I've read for as part of research for this
Lovely.
novel. Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting question. Mostly because like killing someone or taking another life is not an easy task for anyone. Like most of us, we balk at the thought of doing that. But serial killers are some people who do it consistently, and most of them enjoy doing it as well. And that's a fascinating part of their psyche, right? Like, and I'm like it typically more because me as a person, um I don't believe the world is black and white, right? I believe even the vilest villain has some reason to be that vilest villain, right? So there is something in his nature or nurture which has brought him to that point. And I'm me personally, I'm really interested to know that, like, what made this person do this, right? So all of these serial killers that we talk about have these things there. And you talked about Ed Kemper, right? Ed Kemper is actually one of the main inspiration behind the book, because if you ask me, uh, Ed Kemper is one of the serial killers whose accounts are very profound, and he is very introspective. After probably all of the things done, he has become like a very introspective person. So that's like one of the best views into what happens inside a serial killer's mind that we have right now, right? And that is also why, like, I was from the minute decided that I'll make it into a book. I wanted a perspective, a POV, which is written from the killer's point of view, from the serial killer's point of view, so that like the reader can also experience that, like why he is like that, and what goes through his mind, and like the different actions, why he's taking it. Because typically in thrillers and other movies, we just get to see serial killers as some person who's mad and who's doing all of these things for no reason. Um, Wanted to kind of
That's not
explore
true.
that side. Okay.
Yeah, that's not true. They're pretty smart, man.
Yeah,
They,
they're very
it's
smart.
highest IQs. Yeah.
Yes, and this whole mind hunters and the psychological profiling, um, they kind of say that okay, there are two types of serial killers. One type are like they call it chaotic, if I remember correctly, and the other is more like very planned and all that. So the chaotic or that section is more impulse driven, right? All their killings are very impulsive, just in the moment he or she needs to do it. But the others are like very calculating and planned and methodical. Like even during the act, they're not in a frenzy or anything. They're very kind of focused on what they're doing. So that was very interesting. And incidentally, the serial killer inside my book is also that, like very methodical and calculated.
I am very intrigued. Yeah.
That means I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, yeah. If I have my script ready, if I have everything ready, what are the other things that one needs to look at when they are actually deciding to publish a book? You may have to reach out to a publisher, there's a book design, the
Mm,
entire book launch, signing books, end to
mm,
end. And what are the things which encountered in this journey which
mm.
was nice, not so nice, those kind of things which everybody should be aware of to have
Okay.
a holistic book on a bookshelf in maybe like a crossword?
Okay. Hmm. Hmm. A lot of things there. So I think I'll start with probably the bad part of it. For first-time authors, it's close to impossible to get a publishing deal from the the top five of these guys, right? Like Penguin, Hatchet, all these guys. It's almost impossible because all of them do have like emails where you can send your script, and there are ways to do it. It's not rocket science, right? You just need to prepare a few write up and then send it out to these guys. But getting picked up is almost close to impossible because these guys get like millions of, not maybe not millions, but hundreds of scripts every day, and it kind of gets buried in it, right? Doing it directly, that is the problem. The other option that you would have is also to probably land a literary agent. Um, but most of the known, renowned literary agents also have the same problem as these publishers because they also get lots of submissions. It's very difficult to get through there as well. So the third option that is open is something called self-publishing. So the main okay, there is self-publishing in the sense that you have the Kindle-based own self-publishing, but that's also something that is slightly between traditional and um, self the Kindle publishing. Like there are some publishers who are like mostly smaller players, and what they would say is like for some amount of money, let's say, right, they will take it, edit it, like you do the whole formatting, page setting, cover design, publish uh, the book in a printable manner. They will also do all kinds of, I mean, mostly most of these guys do online distribution. Like you have Amazon, like there's a print on demand model that Amazon has, which basically says that when you get an order, they print it and then send it to you, send it to the people who have ordered it. And that also kind of takes it like it's very fast. I didn't expect it, but usually that happens like a 2 day 3 day shipping is what they are saying,
Okay.
even for custom orders, because I think they have like economies of scales and they kind of collect everything, send it to a printer and get it printed. So the printer is always busy and the whole pipeline works smoothly. So that's another option. You have these publishers. So the main difference between the traditional publishers and these kind of publishers is that so with a traditional publisher, the whole risk of the book being a success or not relies with the publisher, right? The author just gives this whole thing, signs a royalty thing, and then the entire risk is borne by the publisher. And during this thing, the publisher doesn't have that much of a risk because a lot of the cost that is involved in the whole editing and all thing is passed on to the author, right? So like it may not be for everyone, but if you can probably afford it, then like it's not like humongous amount of money as well. It's like probably I don't know, there are different plans. Anything that starts from 20K to like 50K, 60K, and then above as well. Depends on what all services that you are taking from these guys. There are a lot of players like this, and so that's one side, one thing, right? So now you've got your book published, but that's like the probably step one, because getting the book out to the people, marketing the book is a whole different um, thing altogether. Like in hindsight, I should have probably started doing this whole marketing thing a long time before the book released, kind of get audiences and all of that. But yeah, we are here now. But yeah, I've seen a lot of authors because I recently met an author. She kind of built her own like a group of followers on Instagram and other social media way before releasing a book. She was very active on on social media, different communities. She friended everybody and all of those things. So all of that pre-work actually makes a lot of difference, right? Then you have a ready community to kind of go to and get started with. And then you kind of have to rely on, like nowadays it's mostly online, right? Most of the marketing happens online. Offline marketing is very, very less. So then all of your bookstagrammers and all of your other influence book space influencers, they also play a lot of role in like getting a book out to public. Right? Once the public starts reading and probably like a organic marketing kind of starts, right? Before that, we'll need to do a lot of push behind any book to really get it started. So that's the phase I am in right now, trying to get it out there.
I hope the book talkies, what Anirudh and I are trying to do, I hope we help you in this, in your effort. Maybe one of the last questions: how was your experience in the
Mhm.
recent book signing?
It's the World Book Fair, International Book Fair in Delhi.
Yes.
I've never been to the New Delhi, the Delhi Book Fair, right? It's a first time experience for me, and it is huge, right? I got into the hall, like there
Mm,
were 4 or 5 halls. One of these halls is where my publisher had a place, and then my book fine signing was there. So that hall itself is so huge that like you can see like at least a kilometer on both sides, and it's full of stalls, right? And like full of people. And at lunch, like I'll come back, but at lunch I went out to get something to eat. It was literally like I could not walk because of people. Like at the canteen, at the places where this was there. Uh, I didn't even realize there were this many readers in a city. Like everybody was there. So that experience was very, very good. Got to and at the bookstall, at the my publisher stall, I got to meet a lot of different other authors who also came for signings and promote their book. They were here in different stalls. They kind of walk around and interact with each other. A lot of different people. It's a very good networking opportunity. You kind of get to understand a lot of things, and you can talk to like I'm a first time author, right? So I kind of talk to everyone, and like I kind of my third question would be like, what do you do for this? Like, what do you do to get more like say marketing? How do you do marketing, right? So, but everybody was very supportive. There's no I think that's one good thing about in the book industry, right? Like it's not a zero sum game, right? If if I talk good about somebody else's book, it doesn't take anything away from my reader, right? It is like more the better. So that is something that everybody in the industry, I think, understands, and they're very happy to promote you. They're very happy to talk to you about everything. So that's a very good experience.
Exciting, exciting, very exciting stuff, Manu. Thank you very much. This has been a phenomenal conversation for us. A first time end to end experience of what it really takes to write a book from the ideation to actually getting it out in the market. We wish you the very best.